we've been talking about some tactics, which is how you do something. We've been talking about strategy or grand strategy or grand macro strategy, which is from a bigger perspective what you're trying to achieve. But I also think it's very important to take one more step back and think about ideology, which is why you're trying to do it. So the deep state obviously have an ideology, which has been this deindustrialization, because they still thought that that would create some kind of perfect world whereby we would all be so integrated together that you couldn't have the conflicts which are now arising. I think it was a desperately naive ideology. But I think what you are seeing both in the US, very, very overtly, in Europe to a lesser degree, but it's starting to build now. It's not something you're going to see in the Financial Times. It's not something you're going to see in the Wall Street Journal. You have to see this on social media, and in some of the darker corners sometimes, is attempts to actually genuinely start changing people's mindset. Not politicians doing it directly, but smaller groups. And sometimes that percolates up and you actually see politicians reacting to it rather than politicians pushing it down, which can also happen too. It's a bilateral mechanism or a two-way mechanism. Once you've got that ideology, then it's easier to get a long-term buy-in to a grand strategy. And then the tactics take care of themselves effectively. I'm watching very, very carefully and very, very closely once you start seeing signs of that emerging. And you are seeing, for example, the US is a very extreme example, but there are others in Asia too. In society after society, radical shifts in Gen Z coming through now.